What's happening, guys? It's Lepro. Today we have another special reaction video for you guys, and today the video that we're reacting to is the final 10.5 hours of Xxtentacion, who passed away in 2018. And before we get into the video, make sure you guys like, comment, and if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe to get me to 200 subscribers, because I'm close, just hitting that mark. And then obviously in the future there'll be more coming, so please subscribe. Make sure to subscribe. If you don't, bang your face. Let's get into the video.
Around 15 minutes after this surveillance footage was recorded, Xxtentacion was shot and killed right at the front of this very same motorcycle store.
Several gunshots possibly drive-by. Witness advised a black Dodge Journey. Shot somebody in a black BMW.
Located within this...
And you know about that video they showed like 2 minutes ago, what's so crazy about it is that, you know, he made eye contact with the people that are gonna kill him. You know, it's sad though. Man, why don't niggas have to do my bro like that?
Mentioned black Dodge Journey were 4 individuals: Michael Boatwright, Trayvon Newsom, Robert Allen, and Dedrick Williams. The last two having been seen on the surveillance footage next to Xxtentacion just moments before the
That's
tragedy.
crazy.
Why were these two shady-looking guys snooping around the motorcycle store in the minutes before his death? What was the motive behind the killing? Did the perpetrators know Xxtentacion personally? After being pronounced dead at 4:51 p.m. that very same afternoon, investigators would look over the prior 10.5 hours of Jazi Enfoy's life back to 6 a.m. that morning, at which point they discovered that his day started normally and that nothing was out of the ordinary.
It's so crazy how like he didn't know when he woke up at that time that, yo, like this is last day on earth. Man, life is crazy, man.
At 6:05 a.m. he'd begin the day with a game of League of Legends, before logging off 22 minutes later at 6:27 a.m. Now, it's impossible to tell if he'd been playing the game all night, or if he'd simply gotten up early to have a quick match before getting the day started, but either way, beginning his final day with video games didn't exactly seem unusual, or indicate any awareness about the fate that was waiting for him that afternoon. However, X did seem to have a sneaking suspicion that he would eventually suffer a premature death.
Yeah, he actually did say a lot. He was saying a lot before that, like when he dies, or, you know, he was bringing up death a lot as well, which is crazy, you know. So it just says like the power of the tongue is really strong. You get me? So, you know, it's just be careful what you say, you know.
In an Instagram live stream from December 2017, 6 months prior, Xxtentacion discussed both the possibility of death, whilst outlining what he hoped his legacy might become when he did eventually die.
If I'm gonna die or ever be a sacrifice, I want to make sure that my life made at least 5 million kids happy, or they found some sort of answers or resolve in my life.
In the weeks and months that followed this
crazy
live stream, X had both increased his security and vowed to never leave his house alone, which would be discussed by a friend and producer ZX Flow, who stated he did not travel alone. He never traveled alone. He knew that he has enemies, obviously. He would not go places alone. I know there were people who were very jealous and envious of him. He came from an area where not a lot of people make it out. Xxtentacion had grown up in Lord Hill, Florida, a suburban area which in 2014 was ranked as the 8th most dangerous small city in America. And if we examine X's upbringing in the area, it's really no surprise that by his final day on Earth, he had certainly created some enemies.
Lauderhill is like the hood. Lauderhill is like...
So, okay, you grew up in the hood. Are you a fighter? You been getting a lot of fights?
Bro, I've been fighting since I was a kid.
What, he's always been throwing the hands or what?
I mean, I've been there plenty of situations, like plenty of fights.
After growing up in somewhat of a rough environment,
That's crazy.
his mother being a stripper and his father partly a drug dealer, fighting...
Oh, his mom was a strip? I didn't even know that. That's crazy. Yeah, he grew up in the hood, you know.
People became a regular part of Xxtentacion's life, almost like a hobby. He'd be enrolled in the school choir during elementary school, where he began to develop his love for music, yet would be kicked out after punching another band member in the middle of a public performance.
Like, I was in choir, ended up getting kicked out while we were literally doing a performance because he kept touching me when we were singing.
Being kicked out of educational institutions for fighting became somewhat of a trend in X's life. After the school choir event, he'd then be expelled from Margate Middle School after kicking another kid in the mouth, whilst also getting into a fight with a random person who had provoked him on the bus ride home. As a result of X's short fuse in the 8th grade, his mother would kick him out of home, at which point he'd go and live with his grandmother, who lived in a gated community reputable for drug dealing and gang violence, a place where Xxtentacion would come to find even more enemies. In this area, X came into the possession of a firearm and began to take part in armed robberies, ultimately resulting in his first 9-month stint in a Florida juvenile detention center.
It's crazy.
While locked up, X would meet another individual by the name of Stokely Cleavon Goldborn, who would later come to be known as Ski Mask the Slump God.
It was hard. We had to
Ski.
make it on our own. They kicked us out.
We met in jail.
Having come from the same county, X and Ski Mask decided that after leaving prison, they'd meet up to continue their life of crime together. However, after noticing that they both had a mutual interest in freestyle rapping, they would instead leave prison, purchase a blue snowball microphone, and enter a substantially safer business, music.
Yeah, we need an outlet to just stop getting in trouble. We ordered the stuff off of eBay. It was like
And they both were like proper, like together as well, like with their songs and all that. Proper aggressive songs as well, bro. Screaming in the mic and all that's crazy.
a snowball mic, Audacity, and like a laptop.
Xxtentacion created his first ever song alongside Ski Mask titled A New Slash Flock, then posted to SoundCloud after his release from prison, with his second song of Vice City, discussing this desire to leave his life of crime in the past. From this point onwards, X would become so serious about his music career that over 4 years later, on the final day of his life, creating music was still very much a daily habit. Because at around 8 AM, approximately an hour and a half after logging off League of Legends at 6:27 AM, X would work on the beat for a new song recorded 2 days prior titled Chase Glass Shards, which would, unbeknownst to him at the time, be the last piece of music he ever worked on. This would
That's
continue
crazy.
over the next 6 hours between 8 AM and 2 PM, in the process interacting with his girlfriend Genesis, who had become sick and was considering seeing a doctor. Without the knowledge that after that afternoon, he'd never see Genesis again, X had something else on his mind.
Sad, bro.
Buying a new motorbike. At 3:11 PM, X would FaceTime his mother for 2 minutes, asking if she'd accompany him to a motorcycle dealership in Deerfield Beach, to which she would say no, sparking an argument, resulting in her agreeing to instead go to the doctor with Genesis. Vowing to never leave
Damn.
the house alone, Xxtentacion would instead head to the dealership with his step-uncle, stopping by the Bank of America on the way over. X pulled up to the bank driving his $150,000 BMW i8, whilst wearing a gold chain and a $2,000 Louis Vuitton bag. He walked in calmly and withdrew $50,000 in cash, placing each and every $100 bill neatly into his Louis Vuitton bag, at which point he'd be noticed by the 4 previously mentioned suspects, Michael Boatwright, Trayvon Newsom, Robert Allen, and Dedrick Williams.
I wonder if it was if it was I think it was planned actually. Think so. Or maybe they're just seeing him withdraw the cash in it, but like, bro, for that amount of money, I know it's a lot of money, but they risk their freedom, bro. Now they're in the cells now. You get me? So was it really worth it? Nah, it wasn't. It was not worth it at all, bro.
Williams, establishing a potential motive for the killing, financial gain. Just weeks prior to this $50,000 cash withdrawal, Xxtentacion had signed a deal for his 3rd studio album, worth a reported $10 million.
And he was rising like drastically as well. It's
Continuing
crazy.
on from where we left off earlier, after releasing Vice City in 2014, rapping about his desire to leave his life of crime in the past, X continued to release music, yet failed to achieve any success in the beginning. Having no following whilst being fresh out of prison led X to take on a 9-to-5 day job, working as an over-the-phone electricity salesman.
I only done one job and I was a sales bro because I know how to run my mouth. Electricity salesman. Hello, my name is Jose Onfoy from Energy Solutions. How are you doing today?
Around a year and a half later, on the 30th of December 2015, Xxtentacion would drop one of his now most infamous songs titled
Look at me.
The track would come to be known as a sleeper hit, laying dormant for over a year before exploding in early 2017. However, in the process, X began to build a cult following of incredibly loyal supporters for his unique sound and
That's crazy. That shit had a bit as well.
I wanted to ask you about that.
No, he's still growing, and you know he's very young, and as every artist, you know, is growing. When he speaks, you know, you can tell he's actually
He's a
an
smart guy,
intelligent
for sure.
individual. He's not a dumbass dude, and I think he actually has a message. So
By early 2016, around 2 years after beginning his music career, he had achieved 18,500 followers on SoundCloud, yet had become
That's
one of
sick.
the most highly requested rappers to be interviewed on Adam 22's No Jumper podcast.
Like I have a cult fan base. I don't have like a weak ass fan base. Like
You have a crazy ass following on social media and stuff, and like it's not like necessarily the craziest like numbers, like 10,000 or whatever. Or how many are you on SoundCloud?
SoundCloud, I'm not 18,
18.
18.5.
Just the number of people who have asked me to interview you is insane. Like
Bro, he had a strong fan base before.
artists, like the number of
I remember I first listened to the Look at Me, and I was like, wait, what the fuck is this? But then when you kept listening to it again and again, it was just like, oh, it's crazy.
tweets I had to read about you, man.
However, Xxtentacion was unable to stay out of trouble with the law, and only 3 months after the previously shown interview, would be jailed once again for robbery and assault with a deadly weapon. After posting his bail set at $10,000, he'd be released. However, only 3 months after that, he'd be arrested once again after being accused
3
of
months.
domestic violence against his girlfriend at the time. The interesting thing about rappers, however, is that criminal charges and prison sentences are often glorified by their fans and seem to do wonders for keeping.
I feel like most artists in America, yeah, like I'll say like past 50%, they've all been arrested. Like why? Why have they like you can literally search up a random artist and search up mugshot, and I promise you they have a mugshot. It's crazy how they like most of them have been arrested. That's crazy.
Relevant. This is exactly what happened to Xxtentacion, as it would ironically be during this third stint in jail.
Oh, he was in jail when it happened, when he blew up.
Mainstream. In January 2017, his song "Look at Me," which had been released over 12 months prior, peaked at number 34 on the US Hot 100 Billboard after X had been locked up for 2 months and was doing absolutely nothing to promote it, while many of his other songs began to trend alongside it. His newly found notoriety whilst in prison led to countless six-figure record label offers under the assumption that he was going to be even bigger after being released from prison. Xxtentacion ended up spending 6 months behind bars during this third stint and was released in April 2017 with more fame, more fans, and more enemies than ever. After receiving a deal worth an estimated $6 million for the production of his second studio album titled Question Mark, X would purchase a $1.4 million mansion in Parkland, Florida to house him, his girlfriend, and his mom.
And he was only what? I think he was like 19, probably 18, 19, 20 at the time. Young, like my age. It's crazy, man.
In the space of 1 year and 3 months, X had gone from an underground artist in prison to a multi-millionaire mainstream celebrity. However, while X had certainly built the fame and fortune, perhaps he didn't have enough time to build the high level of wisdom to manage his high status position.
Still very young, bro.
The moment that he withdrew $50,000 cash on his very final day. The reasoning behind why X felt the need to carry such a large amount of money in physical $100 bills is anyone's best guess. Perhaps he knew the dealership would give him a better price if he paid with physical cash, or maybe he just wanted to feel like a baller walking around with the average American salary in his backpack. However, if X never made this withdrawal, the outcome at the end of the day might have been incredibly different.
Oh, so they seen him withdraw the money. It makes sense now. I thought it was like an inside job or something. But they seen him take the money. Just imagine if he didn't take out the money, he still could have been alive today. My life is a bastard. It's not to be played with.
Because after leaving the bank, X would be followed by the 4 previously mentioned perpetrators to Reva Motorsports, all of which arriving at 3:30 p.m. approximately 10 minutes later. 2 of the alleged perpetrators, Robert Allen and Dedrick Williams, are seen walking right next to Xxtentacion whilst he looked at bikes, with the other 2 alleged perpetrators, Michael Boatwright and Trayvon Newsom, waiting outside the Dodge Journey. 25 minutes later, at 3:55 p.m., Xxtentacion would go to drive out of the motorcycle dealership before the Dodge Journey would block the exit, at which point 2 masked men jumped out of the car and demanded X.
I just wish you see how he still had like a bit of a side. I just wish he just drove away and just, you know what I'm saying. And actually, I seen the video. I remember when I first seen the video, it went viral of him in the car. Like he was like, obviously he was dead. Man, that it was very sad. Like the whole world was just, bro. It was a sad moment. I'm like, deep.
X's Louis Vuitton bag and gold chain. The thieves would successfully take both of these items after a bit of a struggle. However, even though the robbery was over, when X looked at one of the men directly in the eyes, he'd take 2 steps back and do the unthinkable.
Why? You took the money, you could have just went.
This is something that has really stunned fans of Xxtentacion, a rising star here in South Florida. Fans began to gather here right after learning about the shooting that claimed his life. They just held a moment of silence, but they've been here listening to his music, praying, and lighting candles in his memory.
Disgustingly, in the hours after X's death, Dedrick Williams, one of the suspects, would record a video of himself happily dancing around with a bunch of 100.
No way. I never seen that before. No way.
Dedrick Williams, one of the suspects, would record a video of himself happily dancing around with a bunch of $100 bills. Also,
That's crazy. I didn't even know that. What a bastard, man. Flashing them, like literally celebrating. And it's funny how they actually thought they'll get away with it as well. Like, it's crazy how criminals think they're stupid. Like, and I remember there was an artist, I forgot his name, but everyone was blaming him, and everyone said that he is the one that killed X. I forgot his name, but it's crazy how everyone was blaming him for the killing of X and stuff like that. It's crazy.
Also spending $800 on designer clothes at a Fort Lauderdale store the day after the killing. Similarly, police would find a $400 receipt for clothing and shoes in a garbage can at Michael Boatwright's house, purchased 13 days after X's death. However, while these complete and utter scumbags were living it up on their newly found unearned fortune, X's music career was having its own after-death explosion.
Yeah.
Gosh, bro. I went up 1 million followers.
Yeah, I know.
Anything that had to do with him went up.
I mean, yeah, it's weird to see like his Instagram followers doubled when he passed. He went from like 7 to 14. Like, it's just crazy to see how people react when somebody passes.
As mentioned in an article written by Hypebeast, sales of his first studio album 17 jumped up 9,000%. The sophomore project
That's
released
crazy.
back in March saw a staggering 41,306% spike in less than 24 hours.
Yeah, it's a bit sad that you get the most love is when you're gone. Like, he wasn't, like, he was getting a lot of love, he was growing on a lot of people, but it's when he died, that's when people start really giving a fuck. Like, yeah. It's life, man.
Hours after his tragic death. Similarly, his average monthly YouTube music viewership jumped from 150 million per month to 400 million per month following his death, giving
That's
him a
crazy.
massive increase in the value of his music as an offset to his passing. It was kind of like karma, a superstition that X certainly believed in.
I believe in past lives and future lives. I believe in karmic cycle. I believe until you align the karmic cycle, nothing else matters.
However, by the same token, after X had been to prison twice for armed robbery himself, perhaps his own death during an armed robbery, as he put it, the karmic cycle realigning itself. However, no matter how poor X's prior decisions might have been, they weren't nearly as stupid as those involved in the killing.
So
With all the
stupid.
casings at the scene of the crime matching guns owned by the perpetrators, and evidence as obvious as Diedrich Williams purchasing a neoprene mask from the motorcycle store just minutes prior to the robbery, each of the 4 men were arrested one by one in the 2 months that followed the tragedy.
They're so stupid. Like, did you actually think you'd get away with it as well? Now they're in life for they're in jail for life as well, which is good. Like, I hope they rot in jail. Go to hell.
Event. The perpetrators would have their fingerprints taken and would each face a pre-examination. However, almost 4 years later, the men are still yet to face trial and have therefore received no charges. However, this hasn't stopped Xxtentacion's father, Dwayne Onfroy, from expressing what he hopes might happen to the perpetrators. Y'all killed that young man, that father, that son, that brother, without a cause. I say this, no malice in my heart. I'm seeking life without parole for the participants in the robbery and cold-blooded murder of my son, and the man who pulled the trigger. I'm going to seek the death penalty.
Wait, they didn't get charged yet? I thought they got charged. They better get charged anyway. So that's to die. So guys, that's the end of this reaction video. It's sad, you know what I'm saying? Like, it really hurt a lot of people, especially his fans, what those guys did to him. And I didn't even know that, you know, they didn't get charged yet, which is sad, you know. They better get charged, they better get something bad, because like, they could have just took the money and that's it. But no, they decided to, you know, end the man's life. You know what I'm saying? That's the end of this video. You guys make sure you like, and you guys please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please just don't watch and don't subscribe. And there's gonna be many more other reactions coming this way, so prepare yourselves. Peace.